Just this week, we learned a proposal to increase minimum wage to $15 an hour will be put on the Missouri ballot. Now, in the midst of this, a group of people contacted KCTV5 concerned the measure will leave people with disabilities in the dark.
It could force sheltered workshops where people with disabilities work for lower pay to close because of high costs. KCTV5's Joe Chiodo traveled to a workshop in St. Joe and found a wage hike is only one part of a much larger trend, contributing to vanishing jobs.
We're here at Specialty Industries, one of 89 sheltered workshops in Missouri. They employ about 95 people that do all kinds of jobs from shrink wrapping to labeling to packaging. You talk to the people here and they'll tell you they love their jobs, but these are the same jobs that they're at risk of losing.
My older sister, she is 59 years old, and so she has been here. This is going to be her 40th year for working at the Specialty Industries.
Lisa Rock has watched her sister Tammy endure a lot in life. From age 5 to now 59, there have been highs, many of which are thanks to the success in her job. But it's the lows that put her here.
My sister is actually brain damaged from child abuse as a child back in the day when nobody else, when nobody talked about it. You know, that was a family issue.
She landed this job after graduating from special needs school. But now a new law says such workshops encourage segregation and the low pay isn't fair. It's Lisa's worst fear that after 4 decades, it could all disappear.
That's not what's needed, you know, and that scares me to think that just losing a job could lead to that type of devastation, you know. She can't mainstream into society. It is never going to be an option for her.
She says that's the case for most employees here. Brandon Wally, who's packaging cat food, is paid based on productivity. While pay can be low on some days, he's still always guaranteed 35 hours of work a week.
I feel very important. I think my job's very important to me.
Lisa says for most families, pay doesn't matter. It's about opportunity to feel important and a place for these employees to go for 8 hours a day. It allows other family members the chance to get jobs that provide more pay. CEO Paul Bridenstine says paying based on productivity is fair and providing a safe space is key.
They will not be fired because they don't meet a quota. They'll not be fired because they have a bad day and don't get much done.
30-year-old Vern Yost is an example of that. He's held 6 or 7 jobs in what would be considered a normal workplace.
Yeah, I worked at the pizza shop.
But his mom, Kathy, says when standing side by side employees without disabilities, his Asperger's has gotten him fired each time.
They think they're doing the right thing, being an advocate for these individuals, but in reality, I don't think they really understand the situation.
Kathy was a teacher for 30 years and compares the inclusion effort to integrating special needs students in traditional classrooms. She says while it works for some kids, it just doesn't for others.
If it went away, it would be real hard for him to go back out and to get a full-time job.
And it's not segregation. It is not segregation at all to us.
But in other states across the country, these workshops are going away. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is a new law. It requires states to spend 15% of their funds mainstreaming those with disabilities into public jobs. That, coupled with the push for increased minimum wage, has led to a trend of workshops shutting down.
So the threat is real. The words have been spoken and the threat is real.
Bridenstine points to states where phasing out has already occurred. He says in Maine, 2/3 of employees who left workshops and had to integrate into the public space are now working less hours and, in the end, even less pay. In Vermont, 36% of people with disabilities who once held workshop jobs found employment in a public workspace. And while that appears low, that's better than the national average of only 18%. Bridenstine says this could be the future of Kansas and Missouri in just 2 to 3 years.
Common sense never told anyone that this would be considered a negative.
The Developmental Disabilities Act says disabilities should not diminish the right to fully participate in and contribute to their communities through full integration. Lisa says the push to abide by that definition is appreciated, but for many people, it's just not the case.
It's like trying to take a quadriplegic and tell them, get up and walk. It's not going to happen.
She hopes in the midst of many workshop shutdowns, Specialty Industries will continue to be that safe place for employees who wouldn't survive integration to stay.
We do our job to the best of our ability, and I don't want to see that taken away.
In St. Joseph, Missouri, Joe Chiodo, KCTV5 News.
Those who say sheltered workshops cause harm point to a study done by the Department of Labor.
And that study says only about 5% of sheltered workers will ever leave to find higher pay. They say this number is far too low, which is why such workshops need to close.
But specialty industries say it has a thorough vetting process to ensure the employees they hire and keep are there as a last resort.